Chapter 41-48. Many people burst into laughter. It was hilarious, wasn't it? A cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer wanted to rob 50 or 60 great supreme gods, and 4 of them had the strength of the 2nd great supreme god layer. They had never heard of such a thing, let alone seen it in person. How could they not laugh in such a situation? Could it be that this little boy didn't know their cultivation level? Boom! Someone released his chi. The chi of the 1st great supreme god layer moved towards Lu Ming like a tidal wave. He wanted to show Lu Ming how strong they were. But Lu Ming didn't move, like a rock. His facial expression didn't change. I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't hand over the imprints and the insights, you'll have to hand over your lives. 3, said Lu Ming coldly. The crowd stopped laughing. Lu Ming was actually serious. He was actually counting down for them. 2, said Lu Ming. The faces of Fang He and the others turned cold, revealing a trace of killing intent. Little boy, I don't care if you're pretending to be crazy or just stalling for time. I'll show you how strong I am, shouted an old man furiously. His body was like a mountain as he moved towards Lu Ming. A terrifying wave of chi tore the space apart. It was a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. However, Lu Ming didn't care about cultivators of the 1st great supreme god layer. Boom! Lu Ming used the battle character formula to increase his fighting strength by 6 times. His body was filled with dazzling lights, making Lu Ming look like a god of war. He threw a punch. The Great Godly Wind Technique, the Great Shattering Technique, and the other ancient secret skills exploded at the same time. A vast and boundless fist energy pierced through the air and moved towards the old man of the 1st great supreme god layer. The other party's attack directly collapsed under Lu Ming's fist force and was directly penetrated. Boom! The old man was pushed back. Lu Ming's fist energy had pierced through his body. Only his head was left on the ground, screaming in fear. What? The others were astonished. Lu Ming had killed a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer in 1 strike. How strong was that? I'll give you one more chance. If you don't hand it over, you'll end up like him. Lu Ming coldly shouted. Let's attack together. I don't believe that a cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer can be that strong, shouted Fang He furiously, releasing the chi of the 2nd great supreme god layer. Apart from Fang He, the other 3 cultivators of the 2nd great supreme god layer also released their chi. The 4 of them were the fastest. They charged towards Lu Ming from 4 different directions. Each of them unleashed a killing move to seal off Lu Ming's escape route. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't have been able to dodge at all. However, Lu Ming had the greater teleportation technique. If he wanted to avoid it, it was very simple. However, Lu Ming had no intention of dodging at all. He was just a cultivator of the 2nd great supreme god layer. Why would he need to dodge? The Bingxian staff had already appeared in Lu Ming's hands. Boundless forbidden energy was crazily pouring into the Bingxian staff. Bzz. The Bingxian staff emitted buzzing sounds as it flew out. A gigantic staff shadow appeared in the sky. It moved in 4 different directions, aiming at the 4 cultivators of the 2nd great supreme god layer. Boom, 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 boom. There were 4 consecutive explosions, and then 4 horrible shrieks. 4 silhouettes were blown away. It was Fang He and the others. The 4 of them were blown away like meteors. The cultivators of the 1st great supreme god layer were also rushing towards Lu Ming. They were ready to attack him after the 4 cultivators of the 2nd great supreme god layer had attacked him. Then they would finish him off. They hadn't thought that the 4 cultivators of the 2nd great supreme god layer would be blown away before they could even reach him. They didn't have time to dodge. Then, a large number of cultivators of the 1st great supreme god layer were blown away, coughing up blood. In a short while, at least a dozen people were seriously injured. The rest of the cultivators of the 1st great supreme god layer weren't blown away, but they were scared out of their wits. They released their strength crazily, not to attack, but to stop themselves from moving forward. Then, they moved back, trying to put some distance between them and Lu Ming. They were terrified. If you want to run away, you'll die first. Lu Ming's cold voice sounded. The next moment, his figure had already appeared in another direction. There were a few people running the fastest in that direction, but Lu Ming directly appeared in front of the few people who were running the fastest and attacked with the mysterious ice rod. Ping, ping. Those cultivators of the first great supreme god layer exploded and died on the spot. Only a few rings were left, which Lu Ming grabbed. The others didn't dare move. They stopped in the air and looked at Lu Ming in fright. Great teleportation technique. They recognized it. It was one of the top 100 secret techniques of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Unless they were much stronger than Lu Ming, they couldn't compete with Lu Ming in terms of speed. They couldn't run away. How could they dare run away? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. One of the old men roared. I'll give it to you too. I'll give it to you too. With one of them having their mental defenses broken, the others were in a much simpler state. They all expressed that they would hand over the insights and imprints left behind by the experts of the archaic divine court. Come one by one. Don't try anything funny. If I find out, you'll die miserably, said Lu Ming coldly. Then, one by one, the celestial thearchs stepped forward obediently and handed over the insights and imprints left behind by the experts of the ancient divine court. Even though treasures were precious, they were more important than their own lives. Lin Feng put them in a ring. He didn't care if there were any duplicates. However, Lu Ming knew that there would be duplicates. After all, some of the treasures were from the same ancient secret technique. However, he didn't have time to distinguish them. It wouldn't be too late to do so later. What about you guys? Finally, Lu Ming looked at the ground. Fang He and the others were still lying there, pretending to be dead. Damn it. Why is this kid so abnormal? No, I heard that this kid has a lot of treasures. Could it be that someone deliberately gave it to me? Did they suffer because of this kid? Did I fall into a trap? Fang He roared in his heart. However, he had lived for a long time and was very meticulous. He quickly thought of something and almost vomited blood. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was that someone deliberately leaked the information to him. The purpose was to kill him with a borrowed knife. He immediately thought of the skinny old man. Damn it. Damn it. Fang He kept roaring in his heart. His face was distorted. Bang. A foot accurately stepped on Fang He's face, causing Fang He's face to be heavily pressed against the ground. This foot naturally belonged to Lu Ming. Chapter 41-49. Lu Ming stepped on Fang He's face with one foot and looked down at him. He said coldly, "Look at your ferocious face. Are you unconvinced and want to take revenge on me? Then I'll have to send you on your way." No, it's a misunderstanding. I'm not unconvinced. Fang He was scared out of his wits. He hurriedly begged for mercy, afraid that Lu Ming would misunderstand him again. I'm willing to hand over all my insights and imprints, Fang He shouted as he handed his storage ring to Lu Ming. At least you know what's good for you. Lu Ming waved his hand and took Fang He's storage ring. Fang He was tongue-tied. He wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. He wailed in his heart. He really wanted to shout, "I just want to give you the insights and imprints left behind by the experts of the Archean Divine Court. I didn't want to give you the entire storage ring. You take the insights and imprints and return the storage ring to me." However, when he saw Lu Ming's cold eyes, he swallowed his words. He really didn't dare to say it. He was afraid that if he opened his mouth, Lu Ming would be annoyed and beat him to death. His heart was bleeding. Lu Ming had already started to collect the insights and imprints of the others. Soon, the insights and imprints of the 50 to 60 people were all collected by Lu Ming. "Let's find the others," Lu Ming muttered. He moved and left to continue looking for the other experts of the Archean Divine Court. Stop right there. Not long after, Lu Ming met a dozen people. Coincidentally, the leader was the skinny old man. "Hand over all your insights and imprints," Lu Ming said coldly. "Young hero, our insights and imprints have been taken away by others." "I can swear on my life origin," the skinny old man said. "They've been taken away by others." Lu Ming frowned. He didn't bother to pay attention to the skinny old man and the others and left directly. As soon as Lu Ming left, the skinny old man immediately revealed a happy expression. "Haha, It seems that Fong He has already met this person. Most likely, he won't be able to keep the insights and imprints on him. If I can't get them, you can forget about getting them either. Ha! The skinny old man laughed heartily, feeling extremely carefree. How would Lu Ming know about these trivial matters? Next, he kept looking for the experts of the great ancient world and made them, obediently, hand over the insights and imprints left behind by the experts of the primordial divine court. The strongest cultivators of the ancient divine court had the strength of the second great supreme god layer. They couldn't compete with Lu Ming when he used his full strength. In order to survive, they had no choice but to obediently hand over their knowledge and imprints to Lu Ming. After making a big round, Lu Ming had a bountiful harvest, and a satisfied smile hung on his face. On the other side, the same thing was happening in the 3 dojos of the ancient sorcerer divine temple. Yiyu led the core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace to suppress the experts of the archaic world and take their insights and imprints. Facing Yiyu and the others, the experts of the archaic world had no choice but to hand them over. At this moment, Yiyu suddenly looked up into the sky. Boom boom boom. There was a deep rumbling sound in the sky, which startled everyone. Everyone couldn't help but look up. Lu Ming and the others also noticed the strange phenomenon in the sky and looked up. Everyone's pupils shrank. Amidst the haze, they seemed to see a palace appear. Previously, they had looked up into the sky, but it was white and covered by clouds. They couldn't see anything. They hadn't expected to see a palace appear. Could it be the 7th dojo, the main dojo? At that moment, the same thought emerged in everyone's minds. According to the records of the Sorcerer Divine Temple, there were a total of 7 dojos in the Great Ancient Dojo. There were 6 ordinary dojos and 1 main dojo. The ordinary dojos were where the ordinary experts of the archaic divine court went to preach and gain insights. The main dojo was where the most powerful experts of the archaic divine court went to preach and gain insights. It was the true core of the Great Ancient Divine Court and was no small matter. They hadn't noticed it before and thought that there was a mistake in the records of the Sorcerer Divine Temple. Now it seemed that the main dojo had been hidden in the sky and had finally appeared. The deep rumbling sound in the sky became more and more obvious, and the appearance of the palace became more and more obvious. It was different from the 6 peaks below them. The one in the sky wasn't a peak, but a real palace. It was a huge palace. At this moment, someone moved. He shot up into the sky and rushed toward the palace in the sky. Once someone moved, the others immediately followed suit, including Lu Ming. Everyone was like a shooting star as they rushed toward the palace in the sky. However, after they flew up for a while, their speed quickly slowed down. The reason for that was because they felt an enormous pressure pressing down on them. The pressure came from the palace in the sky. The closer they got to the palace, the stronger the pressure. At this time, the difference in their cultivations was obvious. Those with lower cultivation and weaker abilities slowed down and fell behind the others. Those with higher cultivation and stronger abilities slowed down a lot, but they were still getting closer to the palace. Lu Ming was one of the people who was getting closer to the palace. Lu Ming's forbidden energy covered his body and a layer of dazzling light shrouded his body. He activated the archaic secret skill and slashed upward with his palm like a knife. Kaboom! A strong force blasted out and collided with the pressure above. It broke through the pressure, allowing Lu Ming to continue flying upward. However, the closer he got to the palace, the greater the pressure. Behind him, it wasn't as simple as the pressure. Lu Ming felt a bone-piercing chill pouring down from above. It was like a wave rushing toward them. The cultivators of the first great supreme god layer of the archaic world coughed up blood and fell down. They weren't able to block the wave of energy. The cultivators of the second great supreme god layer used their full strength to attack. They broke through the wave of energy and continued flying upward. At the same time, Lu Ming realized that not far away, there was a golden light. It was the other first-class celestial soldiers. Those first-class celestial soldiers activated their first-class celestial soldier battle armor to block the wave of energy. Lu Ming also activated his first-class celestial soldier battle armor to block the wave of energy. He continued flying upward. However, the more he flew upward, the stronger the wave of energy became. Behind him, the cultivators of the second great supreme god layer of the archaic world were getting slower and slower. They couldn't stop trembling under the pressure. After a while, a cultivator of the second great supreme god layer couldn't take it anymore. He coughed up blood and fell down. Chapter 4150. The cultivators of the second great supreme god layer couldn't bear it anymore and started falling down. After the first cultivator of the second great supreme god layer couldn't bear it anymore, the other cultivators of the second great supreme god layer couldn't bear it either. They kept falling down, their bodies covered by a layer of ice. The power that surged down from above was filled with a bone-piercing chill, as if it could freeze everything. At that moment, the first-class celestial soldiers also took out their weapons and started attacking. However, some of the weaker first-class celestial soldiers couldn't bear it anymore. For example, there were first-class celestial soldiers of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layer. There weren't many first-class celestial soldiers at that level. After a while, they couldn't bear it anymore and fell down. It was like sailing against the current. If you didn't advance, you would fall back. The further they went, the fewer people there were. On Lu Ming's side, only Lu Ming and 31st class celestial soldiers were left. Those first-class celestial soldiers all had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. They were all extremely strong. Only Lu Ming had the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer. On the other side, on the side of the ancient sorcerer shrine, the strong cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine had all been eliminated. Only the celestial human clan and the core disciples of the heavenly palace were left. Although they didn't have first-class celestial armors, the armors they wore were no small matter. They had the same effect as first-class celestial armors. They could also block the energy coming from above. Adding on the fact that they were in control of great killing weapons, they were able to continuously charge up at an extremely fast speed. Just like that, another moment passed. We're almost there. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. They were already very close to the palace. They could already see the edge of it. Lu Ming used his full strength, wanting to fly up from one side of the palace. The others did the same. All kinds of powerful weapons were fired out, piercing through that power and opening up a path. After a few minutes, they finally reached the top of the palace. It's a public square. As soon as they reached the top of the palace, Lu Ming glanced around. They landed on a gigantic public square made of white jade. However, Lu Ming knew that it wasn't ordinary white jade. Ordinary white jade couldn't have been preserved for so many years. There were many strange statues around the public square. Those statues had different shapes. Some looked like beasts, some looked like humans. In the middle of the public square, there was a flight of stairs leading up to a palace. Other than these, the square stretched as far as the eye could see and was completely empty. There was nothing else. There were no imprints or insights. Imprints and insights. Lu Ming took a step forward and dashed toward the staircase. In the process of dashing out, his expression changed. This was because he could not fly at all here. There was a strong pressure suppressing him from the outside. How could the other first-rate heavenly soldier fall behind? They all rushed towards the staircase. When they got closer, Lu Ming realized that it wasn't a flight of stairs at all. The other 3 directions of the stairs also had stairs leading up. Bang! Lu Ming stepped on the stairs without any abnormalities. Lu Ming relaxed a little. He had experienced too many different stairs in the past. Many of those stairs were filled with all kinds of tests. Only those with great strength and talent could climb up. Therefore, when he saw the stairs, he subconsciously thought that there was some kind of test. In the end, he realized that he was overthinking. It was just an ordinary flight of stairs. Lu Ming increased his speed and continued to climb. Soon he reached the end of the stairs. It was a huge platform. The other 31st class heavenly soldiers also climbed up. But as soon as they came up, their expressions changed. That was because a group of people appeared opposite them. They were the dozen or so people from the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace. It's them. The expressions of the 31st class heavenly soldiers changed drastically. The other party naturally saw them. Mu Yun, It's that kid. Many cold gazes were directed at Lu Ming. Most of them were from the heavenly human tribe, especially a few of them who had been defeated by Lu Ming and driven away by Lu Ming. All of you stop right there. A loud shout was heard. Then, a powerful aura locked onto Lu Ming and the others. In a flash, the dozen or so sky prides of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace rushed toward Lu Ming and the others. Very good. Looks like you've joined the Grand Magus Temple. That's just right. Yu nodded, a strange light flashing in her eyes. The 30 first-class heavenly soldiers were a little confused. They had cooperated with the Grand Magus Temple, while Yu and the others had cooperated with the Ancient Sorcerer Temple. They had thought that Yu would go crazy when he saw them, but he said, "That's just right." What did that mean? We can't go to the other 3 of the 6 ordinary dojos, so we can't get the insights and seals there. But you came from there and brought the insights and seals here. Very good, very good. Now, give me your insights and seals. Then, you can go back the way you came. Yu continued to speak. Her voice was still calm, but it was full of unquestionable authority. The faces of the 30 first-class heavenly soldiers darkened. They finally understood what Yu meant by, "That's just right." It turned out that they had brought the insights and seals of the other 3 dojos. It was very good. Young Master Yu, you're going too far. We entered the great ancient world to find our own opportunities. If you found any opportunities, we would never snatch them from you. But we found them ourselves. You're going too far if you want to take them away like this. Yes, we would never dare to go against you. Since young Master Yu has found this place, we'll leave now. But our previous gains don't conflict with young Master Yu's. The sky prides of the top 10 clans spoke one after another. Nonsense. Who do you think you are? What right do you have to negotiate with us? A cold shout interrupted the first-class heavenly soldiers. It was Yi Er, who had been defeated by Lu Ming and had retreated. That's right. We let you in this time to assist us. You want to take away the opportunities here? How naive. Another sky pride of the heavenly human tribe said. When we came in, the big shots of the heavenly palace didn't say that to us. They said that the opportunities in the great ancient world belong to us. They didn't say that we're here to assist you. A young man shouted. He was from the demon tribe, one of the top 10 clans. Chapter 4151. Shouted one of the demon kings. The demon clan was hot-tempered. He couldn't take it anymore. If it weren't for the fact that he was from the heavenly human clan, he would have slapped anyone who dared talk to him like that. How dare you disobey us? Yell shouted and stepped out. His body was enveloped by a strange power. Then, he turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed towards the demon lord's genius, pressing down with his palm. The demon clan's genius expression changed drastically. He shouted furiously, "Don't think I'm afraid of you." At the same time, Demon Chi dashed to the sky and turned into a demon fist. Boom! Their attacks collided and there was a loud explosion. Then, a silhouette was pushed back. It was the demon clan's genius. He coughed up blood. One of his fists had exploded. His entire arm had almost exploded. In the face of Yale, he was completely crushed. That was normal. They were both at the top of the 9th godly emperor layer, but the demon clan's genius could only fight against opponents who were 4 cultivation levels higher than him, while Yale could fight against opponents who were 5 cultivation levels higher than him. The difference between their fighting abilities was too great. So strong. The other first-class celestial soldiers gasped. They knew how strong the demon clan's genius was. He was one of the candidates for the Universe Young Geniuses list. He was extremely strong. Once he broke through to the Great Supreme God layer, he would be able to challenge the Universe Young Geniuses list. Such an existence couldn't even withstand a single strike from Yale when they were at the same level. It was simply too terrifying. Was that the strength of the heavenly human clan? Demon clan? Hee, the top 10 clans are slaves to the heavenly human clan. Do you understand? You can act high and mighty in front of other clans, but in front of us, you can only lower your heads. Now kneel down and kowtow to me. If you admit your mistakes, I'll spare your life. Yale's haughty voice rang out. His gaze swept across everyone. Everyone who was swept by his gaze had an extremely ugly expression. At the end of his sentence, Yale's gaze returned to the demon race's prodigy. "Don't even think about it," shouted the demon clan's genius furiously. His demon chi enveloped him and his body swelled up. He looked ferocious. He activated the first-grade celestial soldier armor on his body. At the same time, a pitch-black demonic saber appeared in his hand. This was his killing weapon. If he couldn't fight the other party with his true strength, then he would rely on his great killing weapon and the first-grade celestial soldier battle armor. With the first-grade celestial soldier battle armor, he would be invincible. He didn't believe that Yale's attacks could reach the third great supreme god layer. "Stubborn fool, you're courting death." Seeing that the prodigy of the demon race still dared to resist, Yi-Er felt that his dignity was being challenged. His face was extremely dark, and cold murderous intent burst out from his eyes. A jade talisman appeared in his hand. Upon seeing this jade talisman, the demon prodigy roared, "Forbidden weapon domain talisman." After saying that, he retreated rapidly, trying to escape. "It's too late to leave now," said Yi-Er coldly. He pinched the forbidden weapon domain talisman in his hand and a formless energy spread out, enveloping everyone, including the demon race's genius. The instant the demon race's genius was enveloped by the forbidden weapon domain, the first-grade celestial soldier battle armor on his body instantly dimmed. It shrank and disappeared into his body. At the same time, he lost the connection to the great killing weapon in his hand. He couldn't use it anymore. Yi-Er took a step forward and appeared above the demon race's genius. He used his finger as a sword and slashed down. This sword was extremely powerful and filled with murderous intent. It was extremely terrifying. The demon race's genius roared and used all his strength to block it. However, in the Divine Emperor realm, a difference of one great supreme god layer was huge. It could be easily killed. Blood splattered everywhere as a head flew off. It was the head of the demon race's genius. Yi was holding it in his hand. "Spare me! Spare me! I know I was wrong." The demon race's genius wasn't dead yet. His soul was still there. In the face of death, the demon race's genius was finally afraid. He screamed in fear and started begging for mercy. "I said, it's too late to beg for mercy now," said Yi-Er coldly as he exerted force with his hand. With a loud bang, the sky pride of the demon race's head exploded. Naturally, the soul inside dissipated into thin air. A top monster who had a chance of entering the universe prodigy list in the future was killed just like that. At the scene, the other first-class celestial soldiers' faces were extremely ugly. They felt very aggrieved. Yes, aggrieved. Out of everyone present, which one of them wasn't a peerless prodigy with a boundless future? Which one of them wasn't dazzling like the moon surrounded by stars? But now, in front of the heavenly human tribe, they felt like grandsons. But at the same time, they were also frightened. The heavenly human race was too strong. They couldn't fight against them at all. Do you see that? This is the result of disobeying us. Who dares to resist? Yi-Er's cold gaze swept across the scene. At the same time, the other heavenly human race's geniuses exuded powerful auras. All the first-class celestial soldiers felt a chill in their hearts. No one dared to say a word. Even the Battle Saint tribe's geniuses, who were famous for their battle prowess, didn't dare to say a word. The heavenly human race's reputation was too deep and they were too strong. Yi-Er obviously wasn't the strongest person in the heavenly human race. Yi was obviously the leader of the heavenly human race. If he wasn't the strongest, how strong would the strongest person be? Even if they attacked together, it would be dangerous. Since none of you have any objections, then hand over the insights and imprints on your body. As long as you hand them over, you can leave safely. But, as Yi-Er spoke until here, he looked at Lu Ming. Cold, killing intent erupted from him as he said coldly, "As long as the others hand over their insights and imprints, they can leave. Only you can't leave. There's only one outcome for you and that's death. Oh, with just you, a loser?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. How could it be so easy to kill him? You? Yi Er glared at Lu Ming. You guys can play by yourselves. It has nothing to do with me. Goodbye. After Lu Ming finished speaking, he turned around and left. On the right side of the platform, there was a wide staircase that went all the way up. Above that was the palace. Lu Ming walked towards the staircase. This scene caused the faces of all the heavenly human race to turn gloomy. Lu Ming actually dared to ignore them. This was simply disgraceful. Want to leave? Stay here. A burly heavenly human race's genius bellowed. His figure was like a gust of wind as he pounced towards Lu Ming. His claws were like hooks, grabbing towards Lu Ming's head. As his claws swiped past, the space was like a piece of paper that had decayed for thousands of years, turning into ashes. What terrifying strength! The moment an expert made a move, one would know if he was strong or not. The moment this heavenly human race's genius made a move, he displayed terrifying combat strength. Everyone felt that this person's combat strength was stronger than Yi Er's. Chapter 4152. The first-class heavenly soldiers present were all shocked. This burly heavenly human youth had only unleashed a simple attack, but his terrifying battle prowess was fully displayed. He gave off the feeling that he was even more powerful than Yi. Terrifying. The heavenly human tribe was indeed terrifying. A genius of this level was rare among the billions of races in the untainted universe. But any one of the heavenly human tribe was so terrifying. The heavenly human tribe was even more mysterious and terrifying in their hearts. He's so powerful. Can Mu Yun block it? The thought flashed through everyone's mind. Yale was the only one who was shocked. He quickly shouted, "Be careful, don't be careless." But it was too late. Lu Ming had already made his move. Boom! Lu Ming's body was shrouded in dazzling light. He threw out a punch and collided with the burly young man's claw. It was as if divine thunder had exploded. Crack! Then, the sound of bones breaking resounded throughout the area. Then the figure was pushed back. Gasps could be heard from the scene. The pupils of the first-class heavenly soldier widened, revealing deep shock. The one who was sent flying was naturally the burly young man from the heavenly human tribe. Not only was he sent flying, but his claw was also deformed. It was obvious that his bones were broken. Terrifying. The burly young man from the heavenly human tribe was absolutely terrifying. He was at least a peerless genius who could fight with someone 5 levels higher than him. He was even stronger than Yale. But he was injured by Lu Ming with one move and his bones were broken. Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level lower than his opponent's. This kind of combat strength was really terrifying. Not only the first-class heavenly soldiers, but the core disciples of the heavenly palace and the other young men from the heavenly human tribe were also shocked. A mere human actually has such combat strength. Good, very good. The one who spoke was Yi Yu. There was a fiery glow in his eyes as he stared at Lu Ming and said, "Your combat power is not bad. I'll give you a chance now. Submit to me and follow me in the future. I'll give you unimaginable power and status." The stronger Lu Ming was, the more Yi Yu wanted to subdue him. As long as he subdued Lu Ming would become his sharp sword in the future, fighting for him and conquering the world for him. To be honest, although there were many geniuses who sought refuge with him, none of them had the talent and battle prowess of Lu Ming. As soon as Yi Yu said this, many people revealed looks of envy and jealousy, including some of the heavenly human tribe. What kind of honor was it to be valued so highly by Yi Yu? What kind of opportunity was this? They couldn't ask for it even if they wanted to. Just when everyone thought that Lu Ming would definitely agree, Lu Ming smiled calmly and said, "Not interested." After saying that, he turned around and continued to walk up. What? Everyone else was stunned. What did they hear? Lu Ming actually refused. Lu Ming actually rejected such an enviable opportunity and good fortune without even thinking? Yi Yu's expression instantly darkened. A murderous intent flashed across his eyes as he said, "You'd better reconsider. There's no need to reconsider." Lu Ming waved his hand and didn't even look back. Arrogant. Ignorant. Disgraceful. Such a person can't be allowed to live. Cold voices rang out from the core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace. At the same time, Powerful auras burst out and locked onto Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming turned around and looked in a direction. There were 4 young women standing side by side there. They were graceful and beautiful, and each of them was unparalleled. These 4 were the 4 disciples of the Lord of Heaven from the Great Dream Realm. At this time, they had already removed the Great Dream power and revealed their true appearances. Autumn Moon really isn't here. Lu Ming shook his head slightly. Autumn Moon wasn't among the 4 of them. Obviously, Autumn Moon didn't enter the archaic world this time. You don't have to do anything. I'll do it. An extremely cold voice rang out. It was from Yiyu. His face was calm, but a cold light flashed in his eyes, causing the surrounding temperature to drop sharply. Beside Yiyu, a few young men from the heavenly human tribe couldn't help but shudder. Those who knew Yiyu knew that this was a sign that Yiyu was extremely angry. Every time this happened, someone would end up in a miserable state. As soon as Yiyu finished speaking, he disappeared from where he stood. In the next moment, he appeared in front of Lu Ming and pressed his palm down on Lu Ming. So fast. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Yiyu didn't use the Great Shift technique. He didn't move directly in front of him, but because his speed was so fast, it looked like he was teleporting. Without thinking, Lu Ming threw out a punch with all his might. The fist and palm collided. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently as a destructive force swept out in all directions. The surrounding people's faces changed drastically as they frantically retreated. Those who retreated too slowly turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood. What a terrifying strength! At that moment, Lu Ming's body was shaking violently. He could sense that Yiyu's palm was filled with a terrifying strength that could topple mountains and overturn seas. In the end, Lu Ming was pushed back a dozen steps before he managed to stabilize himself. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Just like when Lu Ming had fought against the tall and sturdy young man from the heavenly human tribe, the situation was completely reversed. This time, it was Lu Ming who had been injured in one attack. That Yiyu is extremely strong. He's a godly emperor and can fight against people who are at least 6 cultivation levels higher than him. Lu Ming's expression was unprecedentedly grave. Yiyu was terrifyingly strong. Even though he only had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer, his fighting abilities were terrifying. Lu Ming guessed that Yiyu could fight against people who were at least 6 cultivation levels higher than him. Lu Ming had never seen such a monstrous cultivator. It was the first time. He had never seen such a powerful genius before. Whether it was Di Jenny, Dark Knight Rose, or the other monstrous cultivators, none of them were as strong as Yiyu. In the godly emperor layer, one could fight against people who were at least 6 cultivation levels higher than him. Fortunately, Lu Ming had recently used the Blessings Tower to cultivate more than 5,000 secret skills to strengthen his forbidden strength. Otherwise, Lu Ming would not have been able to defeat Yiyu if they were at the same cultivation level. Even so, Lu Ming was not completely confident that he could defeat Yiyu if they were at the same cultivation level. Who knew if Yiyu had used his full strength? The heavenly human tribe was terrifying. "Submit and follow me or die," shouted Yiyu coldly. His eyes were extremely cold as he walked towards Lu Ming. "You're just 1 cultivation level higher than me. Do you think you can defeat me if we're at the same cultivation level?" shouted Lu Ming. He then turned around and left. Yiyu's fighting abilities were obviously above his. In addition, there were so many geniuses from the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples from the heavenly palace. If they continued to fight, it would be disadvantageous for him. Lu Ming ran up the stairs. Chapter 4153. Lu Ming ran up the stairs. How could Yiyu let him go? "You want to leave? Say." Yiyu shouted coldly and chased after Lu Ming. Yiyu's speed was amazing, but Lu Ming was not slow either. Lu Ming covered his body with the great godly wind technique. He was as fast as lightning, not slower than Yiyu. The 2 of them rushed up the stairs. Chase. The other core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace quickly chased after Lu Ming. As for those first-rate heavenly soldiers, they looked at each other and then all of them flew back and retreated. The core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace had forgotten about them because of Lu Ming. Why were they still here? They should leave quickly. They did not want to comprehend and imprint. Damn it. When Yi Yu and the rest sensed that the first-grade heavenly soldiers had fled, they roared furiously in their hearts. They then shifted their anger to Lu Ming. If it were not for Lu Ming, would things have turned out this way? How could they let those first-class heavenly soldiers escape? It was all Lu Ming's fault. They naturally did not think that it was because they had provoked Lu Ming first that things had turned out this way. In their hearts, what they did was right and right. Therefore, they did not have the concept of wrong at all. They wanted Lu Ming to pay the price. The two sides, one chasing and one fleeing, were very fast. Soon they reached the end of the stairs. At the end of the stairs, Lu Ming could not help but stare. At the end of the stairs was also a platform, but this platform was different from the one below. The ground of this platform was covered with futons. At a glance, there were at least thousands of futons. At the very front of these praying mats, there was a huge stone wall. This stone wall was very large. It was rectangular and about 1,000 meters high, but it was tens of thousands of meters long and dozens of meters thick. It was hard to tell what kind of stone it was, but it gave off an ancient feeling. What made Lu Ming unable to move his eyes away the most was that the stone wall was covered with densely packed carvings. These carvings were grotesquely shaped and had all kinds of shapes. Some of them were just random scratches, as if they had been left by a sword. Some of them looked like saber marks, while others looked like palm prints or fist prints. These were all relatively simple carvings. Some of the carvings were much more complicated. Some looked like a fierce tiger, some looked like a divine dragon, some looked like a burning flame, or a whistling gale. There were at least 1,000 types of them. Ancient secret technique. These were all comprehensions and imprints related to the grand ancient secret technique. Needless to say, these were all left behind by the experts of the grand ancient divine court. This was the true place to preach and comprehend the Tao. From the futons on the ground, it could be inferred that in the distant past, the experts of the grand ancient divine court would preach and occasionally engrave their comprehensions on the stone wall. Below, many disciples of the grand ancient divine court would sit cross-legged on the futons and listen to the teachings. Or they could comprehend the grand ancient secret technique from the stone wall. I'm rich. Lu Ming's heart immediately became hot, and his eyes were filled with a fiery light. With so many comprehensions and secret techniques left behind by the grand ancient divine court, how many grand ancient secret techniques could he exchange for? If he took them to the heavenly palace, how many merit points and treasures would he be able to exchange for? At this moment, Yi Yu also came to the top of the stairs. He was also shocked by the scene in front of him. These comprehensions and imprints left behind by the experts of the grand ancient divine court are all mine. Yi Yu roared in his heart, and his eyes were filled with greed. At this moment, Lu Ming moved. He directly rushed towards the stone wall. "Kid, you're courting death." Yi Yu shouted coldly and rushed towards Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming first before taking the stone wall. Here, except for Lu Ming, no one dared to disobey him. However, just as Lu Ming dashed out for a distance, he was suddenly shocked. There was an inexplicable sense of crisis in his heart. Then, one of the praying mats in front of him actually transformed into a ferocious tiger. With a roar, it pounced toward him. The wind was extinguished, and its sharp claws scratched at Lu Ming's head. Its power was very shocking. It was definitely at the Divine Emperor realm, and not an ordinary one. Lu Ming did not hesitate and activated the first-class celestial soldier armor. A layer of light shrouded his body. Crack! The fierce tiger's claws scratched the first-class celestial soldier armor, and there was an ear-piercing sound. Although it did not break through the armor's defense, Lu Ming's body was blocked. Behind him, Yi Yu had already caught up. He struck out with his palm and bombarded the first-class celestial soldier armor. The first-class celestial soldier armor shook violently, but it was blocked. "Watch me break your celestial soldier armor," Yi Yu shouted coldly. A silver spear appeared in his palm, emitting a terrifying wave. A great killing weapon. This was definitely a great killing weapon, and a terrifying one at that. Yi Yu activated the silver spear, emitting a terrifying wave. Just as he was about to attack Lu Ming again, the other futons around them also changed. Some of these futons turned into giant wolves, some into divine dragons, and some into giant birds. As for some of them, they transformed into humanoid living beings. They held swords in their hands and charged toward them. In an instant, at least 10 figures charged towards Lu Ming and Yiyu. These creatures were very powerful. Lu Ming and Yiyu felt a sense of danger and did not dare to be careless. Lu Ming took out the zephyr bead. Strong winds whistled out from the zephyr bead, rushing forward and colliding with these creatures. With a loud rumble, these creatures were blocked by the strong winds. However, the strong winds shook violently and were almost destroyed. Yi did not continue to attack Lu Ming. The long robe on his body emitted a layer of light, enveloping him. The long robe on his body was similar to a celestial soldier armor. Its defensive power was amazing, even stronger than a first-class celestial soldier armor. At the same time, he brandished the long spear in his hand. Numerous spear shadows shot out, knocking away the living beings formed by the prayer mats. However, at this time, the other futons around them also changed. At least a few thousand futons had all turned into creatures of different forms. In fact, these futons could not be called creatures. They should be a kind of imprint. For the time being, they were called creatures. Thousands of creatures all looked at Lu Ming and Yiyu. At the same time, the other prodigies of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace also arrived. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed. "Come here and help me stop these creatures. I will kill Mu Yun," Yiyu shouted. Chapter 4154. Yi wanted to call the others over to help him block the living beings transformed from the futons so that he could free up his hands to deal with Lu Ming. Now, with so many creatures pouncing on them, it was difficult for him to attack Lu Ming with all his might. If he couldn't, he wouldn't be able to break through Lu Ming's first-class celestial soldier armor. He needed to use all his strength to break through the defense of the first-class celestial soldier armor. "Let's go!" The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace rushed toward Lu Ming and the others. As they rushed out, their bodies emitted dazzling rays of light. They were all wearing extremely high-level battle armor, similar to the armor of a first-class heavenly soldier. Their defensive power was astonishing. This was their confidence. Otherwise, they would not dare to rashly charge over in the face of so many living beings formed from praying mats. At the same time, weapons appeared in their hands. These weapons emitted powerful waves of energy. They were all great killing weapons. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before he arrived, attacks flew out one after another, flying towards the living beings formed by the praying mats around Yiyu, blocking those living beings. This way, Yiyu was able to free up his hands. Yiyu's eyes were cold as he looked at Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming used the greater godly wind technique. His body flashed continuously, dodging the attack of a creature on a futon, and continued to run forward. "Kill!" Yiyu hollered, his golden hair flying in the wind. He swept out his silver spear, sending a few living creatures flying. He took a step forward and chased after Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. The core disciples of the heavenly human race and the heavenly palace had already rushed over. With so many people attacking at the same time, they kept attacking the futon creatures, blocking all the futon creatures that were charging toward Yiyu. As a result, Yiyu's speed increased greatly and he caught up with Lu Ming in no time. Swoosh! The silver spear pierced through the void like a bolt of silver lightning, thrusting towards Lu Ming. Because Lu Ming had to deal with the praying mat creatures, and because the silver spear was too fast, he couldn't dodge it in time and was stabbed directly. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. The light barrier formed by the first-grade celestial soldier armor was constantly trembling. Lu Ming was pushed forward by a powerful force, and in front of him, several praying mats charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly drew out the power inside the zephyr bead to block the creatures on the futons. At this time, Lu Ming felt that the energy of the first-class heavenly soldier battle armor on his body was almost exhausted. What a powerful attack! It's comparable to the strength of the third great supreme god layer, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Yi was really strong. After using his deadly weapon, his attacks were comparable to a real cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. It was even stronger than Lu Ming's mysterious ice rod. Little brat, die. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His silver spear thrusted towards Lu Ming again. The first attack broke through the defense of Lu Ming's first-grade celestial soldier battle armor. The second attack would kill Lu Ming. That was his plan. Although Lu Ming was talented, if he could subdue him, he would be of great use to him. But he could see that with Lu Ming's temperament, he couldn't subdue him. Since he couldn't subdue him, he couldn't use him, and he had already offended him, he couldn't let him live. He had to get rid of him. The silver spear thrusted towards Lu Ming's head again. Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming felt deeply threatened. Yi Yu's attack had reached the strength of the third great supreme god layer. If he was hit, even if his vitality was extremely strong, he would still be in danger. The attack of a third great supreme god layer was enough to destroy all the cells in his body. At this moment, Lu Ming only had two choices. One was to use the mysterious ice rod to block Yi Yu's attack. But even if Lu Ming used the mysterious ice rod, his fighting strength couldn't compare to Yi Yu's. Even if he could block the attack, he would be injured and sent flying. If it was any other place, it would be fine. The key was that there were praying mat creatures everywhere. These praying mat creatures were all very terrifying. If he was blasted away and surrounded by these praying mat creatures, he would be in an even more passive and dangerous situation. The other option was to use the greater teleportation technique to leave. But Lu Ming wasn't sure. There was a strong pressure here. He couldn't even fly. How could he teleport? But how would he know if he didn't try? Lu Ming decided to use both options at the same time. He used the mysterious ice rod while using the greater teleportation technique. While using the greater teleportation technique, he felt a strong pressure all around him. It was as if he was in a quagmire. There was a strong force pulling him from all directions. But what made Lu Ming happy was that this force didn't completely lock Lu Ming in place. Lu Ming felt that there was still some space. Get out of here! Lu Ming roared in his heart. He gave up on using the mysterious ice rod and used all his strength to use the greater teleportation technique. Finally, Lu Ming seemed to have forcibly broken free from the pulling force around him. His figure disappeared from the spot. Just as Lu Ming's figure disappeared from the spot, Yi Yu's long spear pierced the spot where Lu Ming was standing just now. As soon as Lu Ming disappeared, Yi Yu's spear pierced nothing. The terrifying force pierced a hole in the praying mat creature in front of him. The creature trembled a few times and then dissipated. It turned back into a praying mat and fell to the ground. It seemed that this praying mat creature wasn't completely invincible. It was just too difficult. Yi Yu's move just now was almost at the peak of his combat strength. That was why he defeated it in one move. Damn it! Yi Yu roared in his heart and looked forward. 100 meters away, Lu Ming's figure appeared. That's right. Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique and only moved 100 meters away. Originally, in other places, Lu Ming could use the greater teleportation technique to move at least 10,000 miles away. But the pressure here was too strong. When Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique, although he broke free from the pulling force, it was still greatly affected. Its power was greatly reduced and he could only move 100 meters away. But Lu Ming was already overjoyed. This place was not like other places. It was full of thousands of praying mats. It was not easy to move 10 meters, let alone 100 meters. In this place, teleporting 100 meters was enough. Damn it. Let's attack together. Don't let that kid escape. Yi Yu roared furiously. He led the Heavenly Human Clan's experts and the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's big shots to charge toward Lu Ming. With so many of them working together, their speed was very fast. However, before they could move 100 meters, Lu Ming used the greater teleportation technique again and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was 100 meters away. 100 meters, that's enough. That stone wall is mine. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. He continued to use the greater teleportation technique and moved 100 meters closer to the stone wall. Chapter 4155. Lu Ming constantly approached the stone wall. Those praying mats simply could not hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming constantly dodged them. His speed was much faster than Yi Yu and the others. This made Yi Yu and the others very anxious. Mu Yun, that stone wall is mine. If you dare to touch it, I guarantee that I will make you suffer an incomparably miserable fate. I guarantee, Yi Yu roared. Lu Ming snorted disdainfully. He simply could not be bothered with Yi Yu and continued towards the stone wall. There was a distance of at least tens of thousands of meters from the outermost area to the stone wall. The distance was not considered short. Lu Ming shifted 10 times in a row and shifted a distance of about 1,000 meters. He then let out a long breath. It consumed too much energy. Although he could use the greater teleportation technique here, every time he did so, it consumed a lot of energy. Furthermore, the energy consumption was even greater than outside. After continuously shifting 10 times, Lu Ming felt his energy rapidly depleting. If this continued, he might not be able to reach the stone wall before exhausting all his energy. Major Primal Pill. With a thought, a Longan-sized divine pill appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The divine pill was green in color and filled with the fragrance of plants. This kind of medicinal pill contained incomparably pure and dense life essence. In the great desolate universe, it was priceless. Every single one of them was extremely valuable. Sometimes, it could not be bought even if one had the money. This was what Lu Ming had exchanged for at the Merit Exchange Hall in the Heavenly Palace. Because the elven wood core on hand was almost used up, Lu Ming had exchanged for some secret techniques and ancient secret techniques at the Merit Exchange Hall the last time, as well as various divine pills. Most of the divine pills were like the elven wood core, replenishing life essence. The Major Primal Pill was one of the top divine pills. It contained dense life essence and was incomparably pure. It could be rapidly absorbed and converted. Its effects were even better than the elven wood core. Opening his mouth, Lu Ming sucked the Major Primal Pill into his mouth. The pure life force surged into Lu Ming's body and quickly turned into forbidden energy, replenishing Lu Ming's strength. Then Lu Ming continued executing the greater teleportation technique, approaching that stone wall. Seeing Lu Ming getting closer and closer to the stone wall, Yi was furious. His eyes were ferocious as he stared at Lu Ming. "Quick, charge with all your might, charge with all your might." Yi roared and rushed forward with all his might. He cooperated with the other heavenly human tribe geniuses and the core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. Their speed was also very fast, but compared to Lu Ming, they were still a bit slower. Just like that, every time he teleported, he would get 100 meters closer to the stone wall. When he didn't have enough strength, he would use the Great Yuan to supplement it. After a period of time, Lu Ming finally got close to the stone wall. Once he was within 1,000 meters of the stone wall, those praying mats stopped and didn't continue attacking Lu Ming. This way, Lu Ming was much more relaxed. Finally, he didn't need to continue using the greater teleportation technique. He took large strides and ran with all his might, covering 1,000 meters in an instant. Collect it. Once he was under the stone wall, Lu Ming took out a high-level storage ring. Facing the stone wall, he circulated his forbidden energy. Instantly, a surge of energy enveloped the stone wall. With a buzz, the entire stone wall disappeared. Lu Ming had collected it into the storage ring. Success! Lu Ming was overjoyed. He was originally worried that this stone wall wouldn't be easy to collect. He didn't expect to succeed so easily. In the next moment, Lu Ming was slightly taken aback as he looked ahead. It turned out that there was another world behind the stone wall. Previously, because the stone wall had blocked his view, Lu Ming didn't see the situation behind the stone wall. At this moment, the first thing that came into view was a road paved with white jade. On both sides of the road stood 9 statues. There were a total of 18 statues. Some were in the shape of beasts, while others were in the shape of humans. At the end of the road, there was a chair. On the chair sat a person. No, to be precise, it wasn't a person. It was also a statue. This statue was about the height of an ordinary person. It looked like it was carved out of a whole piece of fine jade. In the hand of this fine jade statue floated a black stone. Yes, It looked like a piece of black stone that was casually picked up in some mountainous area. It looked ordinary and didn't have the slightest abnormality. However, for some reason, Lu Ming's first impression was that this black stone was extraordinary. Should I go and take it? A thought came to Lu Ming's mind. Kid, hand over the stone wall for me. Behind him, Yu led his men and charged madly. However, they were still some distance away. Let's give it a try. Lu Ming made his decision. This was because the position of the white jade statue was at the very center of the training hall. Generally speaking, the thing at the very center was the best. Although Lu Ming didn't know what the black stone in the statue's hand was, it was better to get it first. Lu Ming stepped forward along the white jade path. As he walked, Lu Ming was very cautious. His mind was highly focused as he paid attention to the 18 statues on both sides. Who knew if the statues on both sides would suddenly move and attack him? It wasn't like he hadn't experienced something like this before. However, Lu Ming soon realized that he was worrying too much. He passed through several statues in a row without any abnormalities. Those statues were dead. They weren't puppets, nor were they anything else. They seemed to be just statues, motionless. Lu Ming increased his speed. Soon, Lu Ming was about to pass through the last two statues and arrive in front of the white jade statue sitting on the chair. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a surge of energy shrouding him. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as his expression changed. This was because this power gave off an ancient and lofty feeling, as if it belonged to the entire universe. It was unparalleled and incomparably powerful. This force suddenly pressed down on Lu Ming's body. Block it! Lu Ming shouted. Taboo energy erupted from his body, covering his body to resist the force outside. It was strange. That surge of power was very scary, but it was not very strong. Lu Ming's taboo force supported it and it was able to withstand it. Then that force rapidly weakened. In the next moment, that force disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming took a step forward and crossed the range of the 18 statues. He was less than 500 meters away from the white jade statue. Even in this environment, Lu Ming only needed a few steps to cross 500 meters. Lu Ming took a step forward and was already 100 meters away. He was close to the white jade statue. At this time, Yi Yu and the others finally rushed past the range of the praying mat creatures and arrived on the white jade path. Charge! They didn't hesitate and directly rushed towards the white jade path. They were naturally relieved when they saw that Lu Ming was completely fine. They rushed towards Lu Ming as fast as they could. However, when they stepped onto the white jade path, the statues suddenly moved. Chapter 4156. Swoosh, swoosh. Two statues wielded huge battle swords and slashed at Yi Yu and the others. What's going on? Watch out. Yi Yu and the others were shocked and tried to defend themselves. Yi Yu was strong. His silver spear shot out like a bolt of lightning and collided with one of the battle swords. Boom! There was a loud boom as the statue's blade was blocked. However, the spear in Yi Yu's hand also shook violently. He was forced to take several steps back before he could stabilize himself. Yi Yu had blocked the attack, but the others were not as strong as him. The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe joined hands and used their weapons to attack the battle swords of the statues. Then they groaned and were blown away like cannonballs. The weapons in their hands smashed onto their own bodies, creating loud booms. Fortunately, they were all wearing high-level battle suits that blocked these attacks. Otherwise, they would have been seriously injured even if they didn't die. The two statues were not the only ones attacking. There were also a few beast-shaped statues. They attacked the core disciples of the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly palace with their huge claws. Those statues were extremely strong. Each of them had the strength of the third great supreme god layer. Apart from Yi Yu, no one could block them, even if they used their weapons. Bang, bang, bang. The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe and the core disciples of the heavenly palace were blown away like sandbags. Luckily, they were wearing battle clothes that could withstand a full-strength attack from a cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. That was how they managed to block the attack of the statue. They were only slightly injured. Yi Yu was the only one who could block the attacks of those statues. Damn it! Don't try to stop me! Shouted Yiyu. His body was covered by a layer of strange energy. His body suddenly became illusory. He kept flickering in the air and dodged some of the statue's attacks. Of course, he didn't dodge all of them. Some attacks were aimed at him and he blocked them with his full strength. He charged forward with all his might, dodging the statues one by one. Finally, he charged past 16 statues and arrived in front of the last 2 statues. At that moment, a wave of power surged towards Yiyu. This power was grand and ancient, causing Yiyu's expression to greatly change. He hurriedly used all of his strength to block it. Boom! In the next moment, this power slammed into Yiyu's body. Yiyu's body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was blasted off the white jade path and fell to the ground. The light of his battle suit dimmed, and it was clear that its energy had been exhausted. Damn it, how is this possible? Yiyu roared in his heart, his expression extremely ugly. He couldn't figure out how Lu Ming was able to pass through. When Lu Ming went over just now, those statues were no different from rocks and did not move at all. Why did those statues move and attack them when they went over? Also, what was with the last force? The last burst of power was grand and ancient, unfathomable. He couldn't withstand it at all, and was directly blasted out. But how did Lu Ming get past it? Lu Ming's strength was clearly not on par with his, so how could he pass through? Yiyu couldn't figure it out. In fact, Lu Ming couldn't figure it out either. He originally saw Yiyu rushing to the end and was prepared to fight with him, but he didn't expect him to be blasted away. There was indeed a force between the last 2 statues, but he blocked it for a while, and that force disappeared. Yiyu was stronger than him, so how could he be blasted away? He couldn't figure it out, but it was a good thing. Lu Ming smiled, turned around, and continued to walk towards the white jade statue sitting on the chair, leaving behind Yiyu and the others with extremely ugly expressions. Recover on the spot. That brat will definitely come out later. When he comes out, it will be his death. Yiyu said coldly, the murderous intent in his eyes extremely strong. He had already marked Lu Ming on his must-kill list in his heart. However, he didn't dare to continue on the white jade path. The energy of his battle suit had been exhausted, and it couldn't withstand the attacks of those statues. He could only recover first, and so did the others. Fortunately, there was a buffer zone between the being on the futon and the white jade path. In this area, it was safe, and they could recover in peace. While Yiyu and the others were recovering, Lu Ming had already arrived in front of the white jade statue sitting on the chair. Lu Ming was very cautious. He carefully observed and didn't act rashly. Who knew if the white jade statue would suddenly attack, or what kind of terrifying attack it contained? The statue was the size of an ordinary person. It was a middle-aged man with a crown on his head, and it was lifelike and full of majesty. Just by looking at the statue, one could tell that the person in the statue was definitely in existence with great power. This is the core of the main training ground. Could the person in the statue be the master of the primordial celestial court? A thought surfaced in Lu Ming's mind. As soon as this thought surfaced, Lu Ming was shocked and his heart started beating violently. If it was true, it would be a big deal. The primordial celestial court was an existence that dared to challenge the heavenly palace. The master of the primordial celestial court was definitely an unimaginably powerful expert, the true overlord of the Eldritch universe. If such a person left behind any treasures, it would be unimaginable. Lu Ming couldn't help but look at the black stone in the white jade statue's hand. The black stone looked very ordinary and was no different from a random stone picked up by the roadside. However, if the statue was really the master of the primordial celestial court, then the black stone was definitely extraordinary. Is there any danger? How can I get it? Bone Demon, do you feel any danger? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bone Demon. I'm not sure, Bone Demon stammered. You're not sure either? Lu Ming was even more shocked. Bone Demon had always been mysterious, and he had always called himself the ancestor of the demonic way. How could he not know? I really don't know. The person in the statue is probably stronger than me at my peak. It's normal that I don't know, Bone Demon said. Lu Ming was even more shocked. This was the first time Bone Demon had said that someone was stronger than him at his peak. Could this statue really be the master of the primordial celestial court? At this moment, something strange happened. Lu Ming found that the eyes of the white jade statue seemed to be glowing with two white lights. The two white lights rotated like two vortexes. Then, Lu Ming felt his head sink, and his vision fell into darkness. However, the darkness didn't last long, and light appeared again. Then, Lu Ming felt that the place he was standing in had changed. He was standing in the middle of a void. Around him were halos that danced continuously. These halos were constantly changing. Sometimes they turned into a tiger, sometimes a divine sword, and sometimes flames, ice, and so on. Chapter 4157. Lu Ming looked at the constantly changing halos around him and widened his eyes in shock. He felt that these halos were all transformed from the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Now that he had mastered many ancient secret techniques, he was extremely sensitive to ancient secret techniques and could easily capture the aura of the ancient secret techniques. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual consciousness and found that there were exactly 3,000 of these halos. Lu Ming couldn't help but reach out and try to grab a halo in his hand. However, he caught nothing and the halo flowed through his fingers. Lu Ming was disappointed. These halos weren't real, they were all illusory. These are all illusory imprints. You can't catch them, nor can you take them. At this moment, a voice sounded not far away from Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly looked over. He found a figure in front of him. He was attracted by the halos and didn't notice this figure at all. What surprised Lu Ming was that this figure looked exactly the same as the white jade statue from before. You, the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court? Lu Ming couldn't help but blurt out. However, the figure shook his head and said, I'm not the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court. To be precise, I'm the spirituality of the white jade statue you saw before. However, the white jade statue you saw was indeed carved in imitation of the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court. I see. Lu Ming finally understood. To be precise, the white jade statue was indeed the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court. However, the figure in front of him wasn't the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court, but the spirituality of the statue itself. Senior, where am I? Lu Ming asked again. You're inside the body of the white jade statue. To be precise, these are all illusory. You're not in your body, but your consciousness. Just now, I pulled your consciousness in. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. He then asked, Senior, why did you pull my consciousness in? It's very simple. I'm passing the archaic divine stone to you. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Archaic god stone? What is it? The black stone outside? Lu Ming immediately thought of the black stone in the hands of the white jade statue outside and blurted out subconsciously. Black stone? Hee, that's a primal god stone, one of the most precious treasures in the entire universe. Do you know where the primal divine court's 3,000 primal secret techniques came from? It was comprehended from the archaic god stone. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. What? Lu Ming's heart was violently shaken, as if the seas and rivers had been overturned. The primeval divine court's 3,000 primeval secret skills all came from the primeval divine stone. This was completely different from what he had imagined. He used to think that the 3,000 ancient secret arts were created out of thin air by the peerless experts of the archaic divine court. Now, it seemed that was not the case at all. Senior, are you saying that the archaic godstone contains the 3,000 ancient secret arts? Lu Ming said, his heart beating faster. If the primordial divine stone contained the 3,000 ancient secret arts, wouldn't he have struck it rich? Wouldn't he be able to gather all the 3,000 ancient secret arts in one go? No. The other party shook his head and said, there is not a single ancient secret art in the primeval divine stone. Not even a single ancient secret art? Senior, didn't you say that the 3,000 ancient secret arts came from the primeval divine stone? Lu Ming showed a trace of disappointment. The 3,000 ancient secret arts did come from the primeval divine stone, but it does not mean that the primeval divine stone contains all the 3,000 ancient secret arts. In fact, the primeval divine stone contains all the possibilities. The primeval divine stone sees the fortune of heaven and earth, mysterious and unpredictable. Its origin is unknown, as if it contains all the great Daos of the universe. Others can comprehend their own secret arts and great Daos through the primeval divine stone. In the past, the master of the primal divine court accidentally obtained the primeval divine stone. Through the primeval divine stone, he comprehended various ancient secret arts. That is how the ancient secret arts came to be. The spirituality of the white jade statue explained. Lu Ming understood. The ancient secret arts were comprehended through the primeval divine stone, and not originally contained in the primeval divine stone. In the past, the master of the primal divine court was unparalleled in talent. After he obtained the primeval divine stone, he comprehended 3,000 secret arts from the primeval divine stone. These 3,000 secret arts are collectively known as the 3,000 ancient secret arts. Later on, he established the primal divine court and passed down the 3,000 ancient secret arts to the outside world. The spirituality of the white jade statue explained. Senior, you mean to say that there are more than 3,000 ancient secret arts that can be comprehended from the primeval divine stone? Lu Ming asked. That's right. In theory, the primeval divine stone has endless possibilities. Comprehending countless secret arts from it depends on one's talent. The ancient secret arts that a person comprehended can be strong or weak. Some are extremely strong, while some are ordinary. For example, the 3,000 ancient secret arts. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming felt his breathing getting heavier. This was even more precious than the 3,000 ancient secret arts. As long as one was talented enough, there were endless possibilities. This was too amazing. Such a treasure could really be called one of the top treasures in the universe. Now, such a treasure was about to fall into his hands. Even with Lu Ming's temperament, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Lu Ming forced himself to calm down and said, "Senior, I want to know why you imparted the primeval divine stone to me. I'm not the only one outside." With Lu Ming's intelligence, how could he not know that the other party had deliberately chosen him? Therefore, when he entered the white jade path, the statues on both sides didn't move. When the last force appeared, Lu Ming resisted it for a while before it disappeared. When Yi Yu and the others entered, they were attacked by the statues. In the end, Yi was even sent flying. Only a fool wouldn't notice such an obvious difference in treatment. The people outside are all from the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace destroyed the archaic divine court back then. This hatred is irreconcilable. Why would I choose them to help the enemy? The spirituality of the white jade statue said coldly. But I'm also from the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming said. You're from the fake Heavenly Palace, aren't you? A taboo body. You're the sworn enemy of the Heavenly Palace. How could you be from the Heavenly Palace? You entered the Heavenly Palace on purpose, didn't you? I have to say, you're really brave, hee. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming was shocked. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back. He stared at the other party and said, "How did you know?" "It's normal for me to know because the master of the archaic divine court was also a taboo body. I sensed it when you entered the vicinity." The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the master of the archaic divine court was also a taboo body. Chapter 4158. It was beyond Lu Ming's expectation that the master of the ancient divine court was also a taboo being. No wonder the master of the grand ancient divine court was able to comprehend 3,000 kinds of ancient secret techniques. It turns out that he has a forbidden body. Even if he comprehended so many ancient secret techniques, it would be useless. Only a forbidden body is beneficial. The more secret techniques one can comprehend, the better. Lu Ming's mind raced, and he figured out many things that he couldn't figure out. Senior, could it be that the master of the primeval divine court has truly fallen? Lu Ming asked again. Yes, he's dead. He's completely dead. There's no way he can be resurrected. The spirituality of the white jade statue said. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely solemn. The master of the ancient divine court, whose cultivation had reached an unfathomable level, was also a taboo being, and had mastered 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Such an existence was actually dead. In that case, it was easy to imagine how terrifying the person who could kill him was. Obviously, the master of the ancient divine court died at the hands of the heavenly palace. What was the origin of the heavenly palace? Why was it so powerful? Senior, how did the war between the ancient divine court and the heavenly palace break out? What was the process of the war? Also, why are the taboo being and the heavenly palace's sworn enemies? Lu Ming asked a few questions. He had always heard that the taboo being and the heavenly palace were sworn enemies. Sooner or later, they would be on opposite sides, but he didn't know why. I'm not very sure. After all, I'm just a spirituality born from a statue. When I was born, the ancient divine court had already been destroyed. The statue shook its head. Lu Ming was greatly disappointed. The doubts in his heart still couldn't be answered. Senior, the ancient god stone is so precious. If you leave it here, aren't you afraid that the powerful existences of the heavenly palace will forcibly break in and take it away? Lu Ming asked again. The archaic heavenly stone was definitely the core treasure of the archaic celestial court. The heavenly palace would definitely want it. However, the archaic world was under the control of the heavenly palace. Don't worry. If anyone below the divine lord level enters the heavenly palace, they won't be able to take it away. If anyone above the divine lord level enters, they won't be able to enter. The archaic world is protected by a formation. If anyone tries to break it by force, the archaic world will self-destruct. As for me, I'll take the archaic god stone and escape into the dark void of the universe. Alright, I've basically told you everything I wanted to tell you. I'll send you back now. After the spirituality of the white jade statue finished speaking, Lu Ming felt his vision blur. He had already left the void and his consciousness had returned to his body. That primordial divine stone is already in my mind, but this is... As soon as Lu Ming came out, he felt that something was wrong. He sensed that there was something new in his sea of consciousness, and upon closer inspection, he realized that it was the black stone, the primeval godstone. However, the black stone was clearly still in the palm of the white jade statue. No, the stone in the white jade statue's hand isn't real. It's just an illusion. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he realized what was going on. The stone in the white jade statue's hand was just an illusion. However, if one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to tell. If Lu Ming hadn't noticed the primeval godstone in his sea of consciousness, he wouldn't have been able to tell. Then, his body was enveloped by a force and disappeared from the spot. He was gone. Yi Yu and the rest watched helplessly as Lu Ming disappeared before their eyes. Bam! A burning anger exploded in Yi Yu's heart, and his eyes turned red. He had planned to block Lu Ming here, but now, Lu Ming had disappeared right under his nose. His plan was foiled again. Damn it, damn it. Hurry up and recover. Let's kill our way back, Yi Yu roared. However, there was no other way. The energy of their battle suits hadn't recovered yet, so they didn't dare to retreat. If they retreated now, they wouldn't be a match for the creatures on the futons. No matter how angry and unwilling they were, they could only wait. At this moment, Lu Ming had appeared in another place. This is a dojo below. Lu Ming glanced around and found that he had returned to the dojo they had just entered. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He understood why the white jade statue had an illusion of the primeval godstone in its hand. It was to protect him. In this way, in the eyes of Yi Yu and the others, Lu Ming hadn't taken the black stone. After leaving this place, the people of the heavenly palace wouldn't know that he had taken the black stone, which was the primeval godstone. If the people of the heavenly palace found out that he had taken the primeval godstone, he would be in danger. He might not even be able to keep his life, let alone the primeval godstone. Afterward, Lu Ming scanned the surroundings and saw many people searching the mountains and plains. They were all Emperor God experts from the archaic world. These people had been robbed by Lu Ming, so their insights and imprints were all in Lu Ming's hands. Now, they could only search the mountains for what they had missed. Lu Ming smiled and didn't make things difficult for these people. He went back the way he had come and went back to the great sorcerer god palace. He found that the first-class celestial soldiers had also returned. The first-class celestial soldiers were surprised to see Lu Ming come out. Previously, when they saw Yi Yu and the others chasing after Lu Ming, they thought that Lu Ming was most likely going to die. They didn't expect that he would be able to return unscathed. What a surprise! After greeting the Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master and the others, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. They didn't have to wait for long before the Emperor God experts from the archaic world returned from the great ancient dojo. When the people from the archaic world saw Lu Ming, they had mixed feelings. There was hatred, fear, and anger. Palace Master, this brat stole our insights and imprints in the great ancient dojo. Palace Master, please help us. An elder bowed to the Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master and cried out. This old man was none other than Fang He. What's going on? The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master frowned. That brat from the outside world, Mu Yun, didn't get any insights or imprints. Instead, he stole all of our insights and imprints. Fang He wept and said with a mournful face. The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master frowned slightly and looked at Lu Ming. They wanted to steal from me first. They weren't strong enough and I took it back. Lu Ming said flatly. Fang He, is that what happened? The Grand Sorcerer God Palace Master looked at Fang He. Fang He stammered and didn't know what to say. After a while, he turned his gaze and said, What about them? You took the initiative to steal from them, right? Fang He pointed at the others. Lu Ming had indeed taken the initiative to steal from them. Chapter 4159. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, You people from the Archean world tried to steal my insights and markings as soon as you saw me. I didn't trust you, so I had to strike first. What's wrong? Can't I? You are being unreasonable. Fang He pointed at Lu Ming. His body could not stop trembling. He was infuriated. That's enough. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said coldly. I already know about this. Let's leave it at that. You tried to steal someone else's gains first, and then you were robbed by someone else. You can't blame anyone else for that. Master! Fang He wanted to say more. That's enough. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master frowned and said in a cold voice. He was displeased. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple only cared about the results. They couldn't care less about the process. They only wanted the insights and markings left behind by the experts of the Archean Divine Court. They couldn't care less about the process. They had to give rewards anyway. They couldn't care less if Lu Ming stole someone else's insights and markings, or if someone else stole Lu Ming's insights and markings. To put it bluntly, they had to rely on their own abilities to make a living. They would give rewards to whoever obtained the insights and markings. Seeing the Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master's displeasure, Fang He didn't dare to say anything else. He could only swallow his pride. All right, now that everyone is out, let's leave this place and see what you have gained. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said with a hint of anxiety and anticipation in his eyes. The insights and markings in the great ancient ritual ground were too important for their Archean secret skills. They left the place and returned to the main hall of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple. Take out your gains. I will reward you according to the previous conditions. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said. After he finished speaking, he scanned the crowd. The people from the Archean world looked pale and hesitated for a long time. Only a few of them took out a few insights and markings. The master of the Great Sorcerer Divine Temple and the other experts were surprised. Could it be that Lu Ming had snatched all their gains? They couldn't help but look forward to Lu Ming's harvest. They secretly hoped that there would be a big harvest. Otherwise, this harvest would be too miserable. Following that, the first-class heavenly soldier also took out their gains. The first-class celestial soldiers had a good harvest, which made the people of the Grand Sorcerer Temple smile. According to our agreement, one ancient secret technique's comprehension or imprint in exchange for one ancient secret technique. I'll give it to you. The Grand Magus Divine Palace Hall Master took out a jade box. Once the jade box was opened, balls of light flew out and flew towards the first-rate heavenly soldiers. These balls of light were the spiritual imprints of the Grand Magus Temple's elites. Each ball of light contained an ancient secret skill. These balls of light were similar to the inheritances that the youths in West Raven City had received when they received their magic inheritances. They were all mental imprints. In the end, only Lu Ming was left. Everyone's gaze fell on Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming had snatched the insights and imprints of the other archaic world's elites. His harvest should be good. Lu Ming waved his hand and took out the insights and imprints he had obtained. Of course, he didn't take out the stone wall that he had obtained from the main training ground. The stone wall was too big. If he took it out, he wouldn't be able to fit it here. Even so, the eyes of the Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others lit up. They were satisfied with this harvest. There were hundreds of insights and imprints of the ancient secret techniques. Not bad, not bad. Let's check. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master said. Lu Ming took out a pile of them. They still had to check because many of them might be duplicates. Although repetition was also useful to them, their condition with Lu Ming was that the comprehension and imprint of one type of secret skill could be exchanged for one type of ancient secret skill. If they had a few comprehensions and imprints of the same secret skill, it would still be one type of secret skill. I think it's better to check and verify it later. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Wait! The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others were surprised. That's right. I still have some insights and imprints left behind by the archaic divine court. However, they are too big to fit here. Why don't we check outside? Lu Ming said. Can't fit here? The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the others looked at each other. To be honest, the area of this hall was not small. It could even fit a small hill. What exactly did Lu Ming obtain that it could not fit here? However, the Grand Sorcerer Temple Master was only surprised for a moment. He said, "Take them out and check." The group came out of the main hall. Outside the main hall was a spacious square. Everyone looked at Lu Ming curiously. They wanted to see what Lu Ming got that he needed to check outside. Lu Ming's expression was calm and unruffled. He waved his hands. Boom! The ground shook and a huge stone wall appeared in the square. At the scene, when everyone saw this stone wall, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. There were many insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court on the wall. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master and the other strong cultivators of the Great Sorcerer Temple were breathing heavily. Their eyes were wide open as they stared at the imprints on the wall. Those are the insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court. Shouted a guardian of the Great Sorcerer Temple. He couldn't control his emotions. Oh my God, so many! There must be thousands of secret skills. Too many, really too many. We're rich. The other guardians of the Great Sorcerer Temple were also discussing. Those guardians were all cultivators of the third great supreme god layer. Normally, they didn't show their emotions on their faces. However, they couldn't control their emotions at that moment. Some of the guardians were even more excited when they saw the secret skills of the archaic divine court. They were all created by the secret skills of the archaic divine court, so their cultivation was different from other creatures. They could directly absorb the insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the archaic divine court. As long as they could absorb the insights and imprints, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. The other first-grade celestial soldiers and the great supreme god cultivators of the archaic world were also dumbfounded. Lu Ming's gains were beyond their imagination. Fang He, in particular, had a look of deep fear in his eyes. Lu Ming's gains were so great that they could imagine how strong he was. Without strength, how could he gain anything? Phew! The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master took a deep breath. He was pleasantly surprised. He said, "Little brother Mu Yun, you obtained the insights and imprints of the main training ground?" "That's right." I took all the insights and imprints from the main training ground. They're all on this stone wall," said Lu Ming. Chapter 4160. Great. The Grand Magus Divine Temple Master laughed heartily. He was extremely excited and carefree. The other experts of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple were also overjoyed. With these insights and seals, the strength of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple will skyrocket. By then, it will not be difficult for us to destroy the ancient Sorcerer God Temple. That's right. By then, the entire Archean world will be ours. The experts of the Grand Sorcerer God Temple laughed heartily. They were looking forward to destroying the ancient Sorcerer God Temple and unifying the Archean world. Grand Sorcerer, let's begin the verification. Lu Ming spoke, interrupting their fantasies. Brother Mu Yun, you must be joking. The main thing is that your gains are amazing. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master laughed awkwardly and sent someone to verify the gains. Soon, all the gains were verified. There were more than 1,300 types. Lu Ming had obtained more than 1,300 types of Archean secret skills and seals, which could be exchanged for more than 1,300 types of Archean secret skills. Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. How many merit points could he exchange for with so many Archean secret skills in the Heavenly Palace? Of course, not all of these Archean secret skills could be exchanged for merit points. After all, the Heavenly Palace had more than 1,000 types of Archean secret skills. As long as they overlapped, they could not be exchanged. However, it was impossible for all of them to overlap. Even half of them would be amazing. Besides, even if they could not be exchanged for merit points, Lu Ming could keep them for his own cultivation. The more Archean secret skills Lu Ming had, the better. Brother Mu Yun, you have too many Archean secret skills. The total number of Archean secret skills in the Grand Sorcerer God Temple does not exceed 1,300 types. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master stuttered for a long time and said embarrassedly, "You don't have 1,300 types?" Lu Ming frowned. That's right. The total number of Archean secret skills in the Grand Sorcerer God Temple is only about 800 types. In fact, the ancient Sorcerer God Temple is about the same as us. The Grand Sorcerer God Temple Master said. Lu Ming understood. The Great Sorcerer Shrine and the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine were mainly ruled by ancient secret skills. There were not many ancient secret skills on either side. Previously, the experts of the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine had said that the Ancient Sorcerer Shrine had a total of 800 ancient secret techniques. In fact, the same was true for the Great Sorcerer Temple. There were also dozens of spiritual imprints left behind by the fallen Ancient Sorcerer Temple. There were less than 900 spiritual imprints left behind by the fallen Ancient Sorcerer Temple. Lu Ming furrowed his brows, feeling somewhat displeased. Brother Mu Yun, we can exchange the remaining items with other items. Feel free to tell us what you need. The Grand Magus God Palace Master said. Then I'll exchange the rest of my secret arts for ordinary secret arts. What do you think about ordinary witchcraft arts? Lu Ming said. Of course. The Grand Magus Palace Master agreed. They had more living creatures created by ordinary secret techniques, so they could satisfy Lu Ming's requirements. Without hesitation, the Grand Magus God Palace paid Lu Ming more than 800 spiritual imprints of ancient secret arts and over 10,000 spiritual imprints of ordinary secret arts. Lu Ming accepted them with satisfaction. Lu Ming and the Grand Magus God Palace had gotten what they wanted. Everyone was happy. Everyone will have a banquet tonight. Let's drink until we're drunk. The Grand Magus God Palace Master said. Thank you, Grand Magus. Everyone cupped their fists and left. On the other hand, Yi Yu and the others rushed back to the futon after their battle suits had recovered their energy. With so many powerful beings working together, they quickly made their way past the living beings on the prayer mats and returned to the ancient sorcerer shrine. The Grand Magus God Palace obtained more than 1,000 spiritual imprints left behind by the elites of the archaic divine court. The Grand Magus God Palace Master and other elites were shocked when they heard the news. Some of them even yelled. No, the Grand Magus God Palace will be much more powerful with those spiritual imprints. By then, they will be able to suppress the ancient sorcerer temple. If this goes on, we will be wiped out. We can't just sit here and wait. The protectors of the Grand Magus God Palace yelled. Grand Magus, what should we do now? Someone asked the Grand Magus God Palace master. Kill our way to the Grand Magus God Palace. We can't drag this out any longer. The longer we wait, the worse it will be for us. The Grand Magus God Palace master made up his mind. Although they had gained something this time, it was nothing compared to what the Grand Magus God Palace had gained. After absorbing the spiritual imprints, the Grand Magus God Palace would improve more than them. By then, they would be in a passive position. Instead of sitting here and waiting, they might be able to defeat the Grand Magus God Palace and unify the archaic divine court. Pass down my order. Gather all the elites of the ancient sorcerer temple and attack the Grand Magus God Palace. Make no mistake. The Grand Magus God Palace master ordered. The elites of the ancient sorcerer temple immediately scattered to gather the elites of the ancient sorcerer temple. Young Master Yu, I'll give you your rewards now. The Grand Magus God Palace master took out some spiritual imprints of the archaic secret skills and handed them to Yu and the others. Young Master Yu, what are your plans? The Grand Magus God Palace master asked. I want to go with you, said Yu. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He would never let Lu Ming off. He wanted to follow the people from the ancient Sorcerer Divine Temple to the Great Sorcerer Divine Temple so that he could find a chance to kill Lu Ming. He wanted Lu Ming to die tragically. Otherwise, he would never be able to quench his anger. That's great, said the Grand Magus God Palace master happily. He knew that even though Yi Yu and the others' cultivation levels were not high, they were all peerless geniuses with terrifying fighting strength. The most important thing was that they had all kinds of treasures. Once they used them, their fighting strength would be even more astonishing. Even though they were not as strong as cultivators of the third great supreme god layer, they were still an extraordinary force. They could play a decisive role in the battle against the Grand Magus God Palace. The ancient sorcerer temple was very efficient. After a short time, almost all the troops had gathered. No matter if they were in seclusion or what they were doing, they all moved out. 800 archaic secret skills, tens of thousands of ordinary secret skills, and other strong cultivators of the archaic world. As long as they were under the ancient sorcerer temple's control, they all gathered and attacked the Grand Magus God Palace. At that moment, the Grand Magus God Palace was still celebrating. That night, the Grand Magus God Palace held a grand banquet. Lu Ming and the others all attended. After the banquet, Lu Ming and the others returned to their residences. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and a ball of light appeared in his hand. It was a spiritual imprint of an archaic secret skill. Lu Ming held the ball of light in his hand and inserted his consciousness into it. Immediately, a message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. This piece of information was the cultivation method of an ancient secret technique. Chapter 4161. Lu Ming sensed it carefully, memorizing the primordial mystic skill in his mind from this mental imprint. After a while, the spiritual imprint in his hand exploded like a firework. Lu Ming's expression was calm. This was within his expectations. He had already memorized the ancient secret skill contained in the mental imprint. Lu Ming took out another spiritual imprint and started to study it. Memorizing it in his mind was the safest way. He could exchange it with the Heavenly Palace and make a copy. Lu Ming memorized all the ancient secret skills in his mind. He could memorize several of them in an hour. He could memorize 60 to 70 of them in a day. A few days later, Lu Ming had memorized a few hundred of them. On this day, Lu Ming was memorizing the primordial secret skill when he suddenly heard a violent roar. Lu Ming knew right away that this was the sound of the war drums. The war drums are beating. Is it the ancient sorcerer temple? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He had expected the ancient sorcerer temple to attack. After all, he had obtained too many insights and imprints left behind by the strong cultivators of the ancient divine court. This would break the balance between the great sorcerer temple and the ancient sorcerer temple. He believed that the ancient sorcerer temple would not sit still and do nothing. In fact, the grand sorcerer temple had also expected this. They had gathered all the elites in the grand sorcerer temple and were ready for battle. However, the grand sorcerer temple would not attack first. The longer the battle dragged on, the better it would be for them. They would not attack first. However, since the ancient sorcerer temple was here, they could only fight. Let's go out and take a look. Since the ancient sorcerer temple was here, Lu Ming was not in the mood to continue cultivating. He left his residence and soared into the sky. He saw a large number of elites gathering in the sky and rushing out of the Grand Sorcerer Temple. They were all elites from the Grand Sorcerer Temple. The energy was howling and the sky was boiling. There were too many elites from the Grand Sorcerer Temple. There were more than 1,000 God Emperor Realm experts. The experts formed by the ancient secret technique were almost all Emperor gods. There were about 800 of them. The rest were other living beings who had reached the Emperor God realm. In addition, a large number of godly emperors rushed to the outside of the Great Sorcerer God Temple and set up a great formation. Lu Ming also flew out and realized that there were already tens of thousands of people gathered outside the Grand Sorcerer God Shrine. At the forefront were the Great Sorcerer Divine Palace's Emperor God Realm experts. Over 1,000 Emperor gods gathered together and their aura was terrifying, causing the void to tremble. There was not a single sound at the scene. Everyone was adjusting their state of mind, adjusting themselves to their best state, waiting for the great battle. Rumble. Suddenly, a dull roar came from the front. Here it comes. Everyone's heart trembled. The rumbling sounds ahead grew louder and louder. Then, a terrifying force surged in this direction. That energy was like a tsunami, capable of toppling mountains and overturning seas. It was as if it could shatter everything. Following that, large groups of figures appeared. They were from the ancient Sorcerer Temple. The ancient Sorcerer Temple also gathered tens of thousands of experts and rushed over. Boom! The experts from the Great Sorcerer Temple also unleashed their auras. Their auras were like mountains and seas as they rushed forward and collided with the energy from the ancient Sorcerer Temple. There was an earth-shattering explosion and the void was blasted into chaos. A terrifying force swept out in all directions, tearing cracks in the space, like a spider web that covered the entire void. Kill! Today, we will destroy the Great Sorcerer Temple. The ancient Sorcerer Temple's army let out a deafening roar. Then, the ancient Sorcerer Temple's army rushed over. Kill! Today, the ancient Sorcerer Temple will be destroyed. We, the Great Sorcerer Temple, are the true rulers. The Grand Sorcerer Temple Master also let out a long roar. Kill! 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 The experts from the Great Sorcerer Temple roared. Their bodies turned into dazzling rays of light and rushed toward the ancient Sorcerer Temple. The experts from both sides clashed in the air. Soldiers against soldiers, generals against generals. Emperor gods against emperor gods, emperor gods against emperor gods. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. The emperor gods fought fiercely in the air while the emperor gods fought on the lower level. The sky was suddenly filled with dazzling rays of light. How exciting! Lu Ming's eyes were like two stars as he watched the battle. It was the first time that Lu Ming had seen such a battle. This was because it was a battle of secret skills. All kinds of ancient secret skills turned into their true forms. All kinds of ordinary secret skills turned into their true forms and fought fiercely in the air. Lu Ming did not attack. The first-class heavenly soldiers did not attack either. They just stood behind and watched. Heavenly human tribe. Then, Lu Ming saw Yi Yu and the others from the ancient Sorcerer Temple. Yi Yu and the others did not attack either. They stood behind and stared coldly at Lu Ming. The murderous intent in their eyes was obvious and undisguised. The battle became more and more intense and people started to die. The corpses of the living beings from the Archean world fell to the ground after they were killed. After those secret skills were killed, they turned into secret skill runes and floated in the air. In the sky, the secret skill runes shone with all kinds of luster. They were like sparkling stars, attracting Lu Ming's attention. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. These were ordinary secret skill runes. Lu Ming could directly integrate them into his cells and reach the greater mastery level. This was very attractive to Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming rushed out and performed the greater divine wind technique to the extreme. His body was like a phantom that kept flashing. Every time he flashed, Lu Ming grabbed a secret skill rune in his hand. After flashing more than 10 times, Lu Ming obtained more than 10 secret skill runes. They were all ordinary secret skill runes. With a thought, these secret skill runes were integrated into Lu Ming's cells. They were completely under Lu Ming's control and had reached the greater mastery level. This made Lu Ming even more excited. Lu Ming continued to flash and grab the secret skill runes. "Little boy, you want to die." A few cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer from the ancient sorcerer shrines stared at Lu Ming and attacked him. "You're the ones who want to die," shouted Lu Ming coldly. He threw a punch and those cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer were destroyed. They turned into secret skill runes and Lu Ming put them away. Killing them is even more satisfying. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. He used his spiritual awareness to detect the cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine. He waved his hand and released a terrifying chi. None of the godly emperors could withstand one attack from Lu Ming. All the cultivators of the ancient sorcerer shrine exploded and turned into secret skill runes. After a short while, Lu Ming obtained 50 secret skill runes. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.